you all for coming. Hope everybody signed in that's here. The first order of business is acceptance of resignation of Rusty Akers and the oath for Zach. We have a motion to accept Rusty's resignation.
So moved.
Kim has made a motion. Seconded by Brandy. All those in favor?
Yeah, I think he was abstaining on that.
6. Did you vote? You didn't vote, did you?
I abstain.
Okay, 601 with Zach abstaining. Okay. In recognition of Rusty's, all his years of service, which is over 10, is it 12? Over 10, and 10 and a half. We want to, everyone on the board and the community wants to say thank you for all your service. Appreciate everything that that you've done and went through for the corporation. And we have this plaque for you. And
Gonna have it real. Gonna have a real picture. You guys almost match.
thank you. Thank you. And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't want to. Okay, the next order is to the oath of office for Zach. So I think you need to stand and hold your right hand up, I believe, and repeat after me. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body,
as a member of this governing body,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All right, congratulations. Mr. Shemp, are there any revisions or corrections to the agenda tonight?
The only addition that I have is we did get some bus bids in, so item I at the end, I've actually added to miscellaneous for the bus bids.
Okay, very well. We will move on to approval of minutes from we'll start with the January 13th meeting, the regular meeting, the Board of Finance meeting. Was everybody at all of those? Can we put all those together? No, we'll do the first two together. So, those minutes are in your packet. Are there any questions or comments from Mr. Shemp on either of the January 13th meetings? If there are not, do I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Gina has made a motion,
Second.
seconded by Kim. All those in favor? 5, all those abstaining? 2, 502 with Jim and Zach. Okay, let's move on to the February 1st executive session meeting. Questions or comments on that? If there are none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Brandy has made the motion, Jim with the second. All those in favor? 6. All those abstaining? 1. 601 was Zach abstaining. And the February 9th special session meeting. Jim has made the motion,
Second?
seconded by Kim. All those in favor? 6. All those abstaining? 1. 601, Zach. Okay, moving on to financial business. Payroll and claims, Mr. Schimpf.
Yeah, you'll see in the actual total is down a little bit for the current month when you add the total payroll and net claims together. We did have 3 payrolls this month. There was an HSA contribution, textbook refunds went out, and the second semester WRCTE payment was made. Even with all of that, the total number was still below that of the prior year at this point.
Very well. Are there questions or comments for Mr. Schimpf on payroll and claims?
Why are there so many textbook rental refunds?
So when students change classes, especially at the high school level and middle school level, when a class change happens, we need to refund the dollars, right? So if somebody rents a textbook, they're in a class for a semester, we need to give them that other semester. Same deal if they drop a class after the first 2 weeks of school.
Very well. Other questions or comments? There are none. Do I have a motion to approve them as presented?
So moved.
Gina has made the motion,
I'll second it.
seconded by Elise. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Okay, financial reports, Mr. Schimpf.
Yeah. I don't have any real standouts here on the financials. We've got a healthy, a little over $2 million in the education fund. That's where we pay primarily all the salaries from. Operations fund is $3.7 million at this point, and so operations is healthy. That education fund is as high as it has been, but that's not atypical for the time of year necessarily. Those would be two of the largest points, especially for newer board members. Those are the 2 largest funds.
When would we expect to see the school lunch fund start going the other way?
So we just had December where we got, I don't want to say penalized, but it got knocked down again here this past December. The hope is by June, with the free lunches and full reimbursement, by June we're going to break even is the hope. Now, whether or not we're really going to see that happen, we need to see some progress in the next couple months. So we've still got items to clean up there.
Okay. Other questions or comments for Mr. Schimpf? If there are none, I need a motion.
So moved.
Kim has made the motion. Seconded by Jim. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Okay, ECA reports.
As far as ECA reports are concerned, I do think that we are managing our dollars really well to see the high school athletic account still around $20,000. That's a testament to being frugal, I think, on the high school side right now, and to going out and finding additional dollars that don't necessarily exist in selling tickets at games. So that's a good job that Mr. Shelsky's doing there. At the same time, Mr. McCoy's doing a good job of keeping the funds up on the middle school side with the athletic account. So I expected those numbers to be lower, to be quite honest with you, just based upon how few of contests we've been allowed to have spectators at.
Okay, questions or comments for Mr. Schimpf?
So we have the high school class of like 2005, 2008, 2011, 12. Some of them have no money in them, but some of them have money in them. What's the, I mean, what do we do with that? How
So-
do we get rid of that? Not
We
get rid
have
of
to
it.
have a class officer sign off from that class to say if they want to donate that money to the school, they have to sign off on it.
I had to sign off on the class of 96 not long ago.
Can we maybe reach out to those class officers? Because that's like money that maybe the juniors could use. Reunion? Can they use it for that?
Yes.
Can they? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It is something we try to periodically clean up, but you kind of hate to see those years gone by. You understand if somebody is saving it for a reunion or something like that, but
You would hope that the older they get, they have a job and they could fund their own reunion. I mean, truly.
Class of 1960 should have been making some good interest off theirs.
That's what I mean. It's like,
All right, do we have a motion to approve the reports?
So moved.
Brandy has made the motion.
I'll second.
Gina with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. Utility report, Mr. Schimpf.
one thing that I won't be surprised to see an increase next month after this cold snap, I would say up front. I'm not going to be surprised if we see an increase year over year. I would recommend that I guess we don't have to approve these because they're already part of the claims process, but I'm not going to be surprised if we see that happen. Our total numbers are what they are. You see that we're 7% up for January and 4% down for February, but those are always in arrears, and so again, we'll probably see an increase based upon these cold days. I think it's the coldest since, what'd they say, 2014? I don't know if anybody caught that. Is that right? Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since it's been this cold, so. Otherwise, there's not anything large to note there, other than energy harness, I guess, has been through. And so from that point of view, we do have the LEDs that should help counter some of the increase. So that's positive.
Reliance only has 1 month, and it's very high.
Which one's that?
The Proliance on page 61. It's trending like 2019, and there's like a $10,000 difference, looks like, at the end of the year for that.
It is interesting to note that the Turkey Run schools were significantly down in 2020, and that the town of Rockville schools were just about even if you go clear down the board. But anyway, questions or comments about that? There is no action needed then. Let's move on to Mr. Ashley has a report on the high school. So, Mr. Ashley, the floor is yours.
Yeah, a couple hours
15 minutes.
over the course
in
of
the
4
neighborhood
meetings.
there.
All right. I'm not sure if this is on or not. I'm just gonna talk loud, so. So if you look at the staple packet first, this is highlights of the high school for this year. So it definitely doesn't cover absolutely everything going on in the high school, but I wanted to make sure you knew about some of the key things going on at the high school this year. First had 327 students on that. So we continue to trend in a very good direction, even during COVID, one of the most brutal years in the history of education in our country. That's a great thing for us. So right now, about 350 of those students of that 350, 57 right now are in our virtual school, which, if you remember, we were going to create the virtual school before COVID even came our way, for some specific reasons anyway, because we felt that it was going to serve a need with some students that might have left us and gone somewhere else because there are state charter virtual schools that people can just sign up online and leave your school district, and then you lose that enrollment, you lose that money. So it really was a critical thing. I've heard a lot of reports from area principals in our conference. We just talked the other day at a meeting, somebody asked, how's your virtual school going? And almost every other principal said it's a disaster so far. Ours has gone very well. And there's some reasons why, which I'll highlight here in a minute. Also you can see our alternative ed program. We're at a steady 9 students in that program, and that's a program that we created for a number of reasons, but mainly for credit recovery and also to help serve students that have various significant behavioral issues and problems, instead of just basically finding ways to get rid of them from your school. You keep them in an alternative ed program and continue working with them in your own school, which again keeps that student with you, and then the hope is to get them to the finish line and get them to graduate, but in an alternative way. So, and we'll talk about that more in just a moment too, about why that's been a successful program for us also. You can also see a couple of our common statistics here that we're running about 49% free and reduced, and about 17% special ed, which those numbers I think are somewhat high for corporations, which is why I think some of our academic highlights and numbers are so good, because we work with the population that we have that comes to us with a variety of inherent socioeconomic challenges, and we get the most out of those students. So the current class of 2021, our senior class, has 83 students. Of those 83 right now, 40 are on track for academic honors, 10 on track for technical honors, and about 28 on track for our Ivy Tech transfer gen for 30 credits, which means that they essentially would have their freshman year of college done. So again, that's a really good number for us as we continue on with our college program. So moving ahead then, the successes that I bullet point here, again, increasing enrollment. We achieved our early college endorsement last fall, which we've been actually working on that for a while. In all reality, we have had a early college program for several years now. We just got the stamp of approval essentially because we're in the Reckitt grant now, the rural early college grant, and because of that, getting the endorsement was one of those requirements. So we went through that process, which is actually a good process to do in partnership with University of Indianapolis and their program, which they are the endorser for the state of Indiana. And I will say, in all my years in education, which is going on about 27 years now, actually combined, to me it's the best educational program I've ever been part of, providing really good academic results for students that they take with them the second year in a row, we have ranked very high on the Commission for Higher Ed report. Park County actually ranks number 2 in the state in students earning dual credit. And then when you drill down on that, you see that basically about 90%, 95% of those kids earning that dual credit come right here from Park Heritage High School because of what we're doing right here. So and we've been doing this now for about 10 years or so, and really aggressively for 5 or 6 years. So we rank very highly. This is what actually has brought some attention to us from the state level. For example, the new Secretary of Education, Katie Jenner, she's actually already been out here about 3 times. She already knows me, emails me every now and then about things, questions here or there, so we already have a relationship with her. Whether you agree with everything that she does or with what's going on in Indianapolis, at least we have a connection to be able to try to get some of our ideas through when we can. So, our virtual and alternative ed programs are running successfully, and really in large part because of Brooke Wright. She's a teacher that we moved into that program full-time this last year, and her energy, personality, and the way she does things, she's very OCD about organization. She literally tracks all 57 virtual kids and 9 alternative ed kids every minute of every day. If you go down to her classroom, she literally has on her computer screen, she's watching all the virtual kids all day long. And when they log in, when they log off, she can do chat rooms with them, she can email them, she can call them. Occasionally, she even checks with me and we send an SRO out if the kid has not responded to something for a couple days, so that we keep them on track and doing the work. She also has a track on a big whiteboard what they're doing, what credits they're earning, and that's while having 9 very challenging students in the classroom with her that have lots of behaviors many times. Again, she's working with me and Rich and our counselors throughout the day, working with those students too. But it's her work and personality that really made that successful. So I really appreciate what she's done. Another program that is really taking off and developing is our auto tech program under Ed Cooch. Ed came to us kind of in a unique way. He actually is a Purdue graduate, engineering degree, worked in aviation a little bit, actually worked at Chrysler in their engine development division, was a law enforcement SRO for a while, and then decided to move to Park County. His wife teaches special ed at South Lane, but he is incredibly talented and organized and is really working at a high level with our auto tech students and also getting them connected with local businesses around this region and going out and visiting them on the job and really doing it in a professional way. So I really appreciate what I see him doing. So, and then one general statement there is just the fact that NCP and Park Heritage positive headlines, that's why I handed out the Sentinel there. And you see a couple things there. Number one, you see a headline about the early college program. But then also you look through that paper, basically every time you look at the Sentinel, you see stories about NCP and Park Heritage kids doing positive things. So that's a really nice thing to see there. Our dance team placing, getting first
Questions from board members? I'll ask one. So what is your biggest need from, let's say, us to help? Whatever you think our biggest priority is to help.
Honestly, I would just say to just stability, just keep doing, going the direction that we're going. Because I think we are very successful. I think the stability that we have seen, even through this really difficult year, I think it's helping our enrollment continue to gradually increase because people like what they see. And you, obviously, your leadership is part of that. So I really appreciate that as a building principal here. You know, Rusty kind of highlighted that. I realize, especially dealing with consolidation, there were things that weren't easy to do that. There were decisions that you presented with that were not fun or easy to have to make, but we did it. And when you look at where we're at now, 3 years into this, and the success that we're having, we just continue on this stable path that we're on. That is what I think is really making a difference for our success, for all of us. So just continue that direction is what I think we need to do from my perspective. I actually did have one question that kind of highlighted at the very end there. You saw a picture of the graduation. We're at that time of year now where we're having to put down and so on, having to make decisions on kind of zeroing in for details of graduation. And what do we want to do with that? Obviously, last year, you know how plans changed and we ended up kind of like we always do. We'll make the best of it. We'll make it work, whatever we need to do. We had graduation on the football field here, which ended up being really popular. We talked with our senior officers about it. They would like to still have graduation here at the football field outside. I told them, well, we need to present that to the school board and see what the school board thinks. So I guess that's what I officially am doing. To ask you, right now, I think our date is May 29th, it's a Saturday, the last Saturday in May, and towards the end of the time. Of course, we don't know exactly what the COVID situation is, but I think we continue to kind of forge ahead here. Outside, you have less issues to deal with because of that. Of course, there's always weather. The thought would be if there were weather issues, for example, we went to 4 o'clock time. If there was a passing storm, we should, would say, move to 6 p.m. or if it rain out that day, we would go to 2 p.m. next day on Sunday. Same location. So, anyway, I just simply present that to you, the school board, having presented it with the senior class officers. I'd like to try to do what the kids feel like they want to do. The seniors, I think it was a really neat event here last year. They were able to walk through the school building one last time and walk out to the football field. Had a stage set up out there. It was a nice setting. So that's all I have.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments for Mr. Ashley? Okay, well, we've heard you on that. I'm sure that'll be talked about. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Okay, we will move on then to the personnel report. We have a staff retirement, Mr. Schimpf.
Yeah, Debbie Veach has tendered her retirement paperwork, and I'd recommend that the board approve her submission.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Kim has made the motion,
I'll second it.
seconded by Elise. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Does anybody know how long she's been employed here?
Well, let's see. I don't have those dates there in front of me,
I'm just curious.
but I know she's been a valuable
Been a while,
resource
right?
here.
I've been around for 20 years and she was here before I got here, so I don't know.
Can't remember.
That's why I really don't want to vote for it.
I was just curious, Okay, moving on, we have some non-certified staff changes.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that the board approve the move of Junior Akers from an 8-hour temporary custodian to a permanent 8-hour custodian. This is a second shift position at Park Heritage Middle School. He had gone into a temporary position as we needed additional help. We actually have a position that opened, so it's not that we're adding a position, we're just making this a full-time, based upon your approval.
Very well, are there questions or comments for Mr. Schimpf? If there are none, do I have a motion? So moved. Jim Wrightsman's made a motion,
I second.
seconded by Brandy. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Okay, another custodian change?
Yeah, we have a similar situation here. Susan Morris has been a 4-hour temp, or working in a temporary custodial position, and I'd like for that to also move to a permanent position as well. This was previously Junior Akers' position.
Any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Brandy has made the motion,
Second.
seconded by Gina. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Okay, got some ECA positions.
Just in time for the start of track season, I would like to recommend that Coach Brian Moore, be approved as the head track and field coach for Park Heritage High School.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Kim has made the motion.
I second.
Who? Zach.
Or Zach.
All right, Zach's in the game. Zach's in the game. All those in favor?
Sorry, Zach. Sorry.
All those in favor? Was everybody good? 7-0? Okay. Okay, with assistant track coach, Mr. Schimpf.
Yeah, in addition, I'd recommend that the board approve Josh Kimbrough as the assistant track and field coach for Park Heritage High School.
Very well, do we have a motion? Brandy's made a motion,
Second.
seconded by Jim. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Okay, clarification regarding Park Heritage High School girls basketball coaches.
Yeah, need to provide some clarification on ECA here. There are two paid positions for varsity and assistant varsity girls basketball coaching. And originally, we thought Jeff McCoy was going to be in one of these paid positions, but actually, he has been volunteering, and instead we would like to see those dollars between those two assistant positions split 3 ways between Chelsea Leonard, Rachel Luft, and Jordan Davies. And so I would ask the board to approve that change to the compensation distribution.
Very well, there are questions or comments. We have a motion. Brandy's made the motion. Do I have a second? Gina has seconded. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Alternate, what? Recommendation to approve new alternate education bus driver.
Yeah, Cliff Farley has been working for us as an IA, and when he does that, he's often on the bus. That tends to be his aide position. However, there are occasions where he has to actually drive the bus, and in line with that additional responsibility, I think it makes sense to pay a little bit more when he's the actual bus driver as opposed to the aide position. Currently, he's making $10 an hour when he's an aide, and I would recommend that the board approve moving that to $12 an hour when he is a driver. He does not have a CDL, but he does have his blue card, so there is some additional certification there, but it's not to the level of the $14 an hour that we're paying our CDL driver in a similar situation.
Does he look to maybe get the CDL?
I don't think so, but we are certainly looking all over for people to come and drive for us.
So then when he has to be the driver, is there another aide on the bus, or do we just do without the aide?
We usually can't find an aide at the same time. Yeah.
Is that a safety issue?
If it's to the point of being a safety issue that we couldn't drive somebody, we would have to have somebody on the bus, obviously. Yeah. We don't want to put ourselves in a position where we don't have the assistance we need. Because there are sometimes some high needs students, and that's the reason for him being on the bus in the first place.
Are there other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Randy's made the motion.
Second.
Kim with a second. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, moving on. There is no old business tonight. New business, we have approval of donations, and I will read those. $15.40 from Casey's General Store, $2.80 from Casey's General Store, $46.20 from Box Tops, $125 or $250 from Tri Kappa Gamma Sigma Chapter, $50 from Otterburn United Methodist, $50 from Tri Kappa Rockville Associates Chapter, $250 from John and Sharon Malone, $300 from the Park County Community Foundation, Allen 7 Marjorie Brackfield Family Heritage, and $50 from Tri Kappa Rockville Associates Chapter. Again, we thank all for the donations, appreciate them. Do we have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Elise has made a motion,
Second.
seconded by Kim. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Okay, recommendation to approve the field trip, Mr. Schimpf.
And we've avoided field trips basically all year because of the pandemic. And in April, Mrs. Benjamin would really like to take 12 life skills students along with 9 chaperones to the Indianapolis Zoo. The trip is on April the 6th, pending approval. Students would obviously be required to have completed parent permissions on file before going. The PTO would be funding the trip, and at this point, I would like to recommend to the board that the class be allowed to take this trip, pending any, upcoming outbreaks that might, if there's something like that, obviously we have to reevaluate.
Okay, are there questions or comments for Mr. Schimpf on the field trip?
Do you know if they're planning on taking a bus?
They'll have to with that many, because there'll be 21 of them total at least, so they'll have to take a yellow bus.
Other questions? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Kim's made the motion,
Second.
seconded by Jim. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Discussion of high school graduation times. Mr.
Yeah,
Schimpf.
Mr. Ashley jumped ahead of us a little bit
Yeah.
here. That's okay. That's all right. He's fast one. I just wanted to bring up, and he's already brought up, that there have been some discussions with the senior class. I'm going to move a couple things here. Maybe it'll make a difference. Here, a ring. So some of the seniors have expressed an interest in having the graduation ceremony outside on the football field again, like we did last year, which was really kind of a special thing that we did in order to have a graduation ceremony. Outside was really one of our only options last year. It's not our only option this year. We have upgraded our sound system at the middle school. Now we will also have upgraded sound system outside at the football stadium. So just some things to consider. I don't think the board, unless you want to, has to make a decision tonight one way or the other. If you choose to, that's obviously your prerogative. But I just thought it was worth discussing. There's no guarantee when you pick a date and it's outside because of the weather. You could have a week of rain. That happens sometimes, and then that puts us in a rough situation. At the same time, if that happens and we move it indoors, that's a possibility. So I just thought it was worth discussing a little bit. And if board members have any input they want to provide, or if you'd like to hear from students specifically, I think we could go any route you want to go with that. either way we go, we had to get staging, right? So we had to have those risers or the stage, and they would have either had to gone to the middle school or the football field or wherever we were. So that would have been difficult to pick that up and move if we had to, if we'd had a storm at that point. July is a lot hotter, so it's not ideal to be in July. So the temperature-wise, you'd like to think would cooperate, but there's never a guarantee of that either. So I guess ultimately it can be a bit of a hassle. We can admit, it can be a hassle to have to move, but sometimes we do things if that's what we think is right, even though it's a little bit harder.
Would anybody else like to make a comment on this?
So Mr. Ashley said that, like, I think he said 4 o'clock with a secondary of 6 o'clock and a secondary of Sunday. I'm not sure I'm in favor of that because you have people traveling that, you know, when are you gonna make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I really think graduation's such a planned event, and open houses are such planned events, that there's a lot that goes into it that, I mean, you really have to have a hard date and a hard time for that. And that makes it so much easier because there's no decisions to be made. Now, whether it's worth the upside of having it on the football field is worth the potential downside or the potential, you know, people not being able to get in, or the potential of weather being a problem. I mean, I know that it's great to have it on the football field. I think it's great. But if it does rain, you really got to prepare 2 different sites, and I think that's just extremely difficult. And I think, as scheduled as an event it is, I think you need to have it somewhere where you can for sure have it. For me,
Didn't we have discussion last year, like, depending on what the weather was, like, we were gonna make a decision at a certain time, and so even if it stopped right, like, it is what it is at whatever the date time cutoff was.
We did.
Right? Did we
Yeah, we did.
So,
Yeah, we did. And you're going to have a backup site if you have an outdoor, even if you do it the same night. If you said 4 o'clock on Saturday, okay, and then if it's raining 6 o'clock at the middle school, now you got 2 places set up. And the reality is the logistics get pretty difficult.
Is the gymnasium at this school too small to be the backup plan if it's outside on the football field?
I don't know if that's ever been discussed, to be honest.
last year when we had the discussion, it was because we had to socially distance, so that played a big part of that, so that we couldn't get all the people in.
So I would presume we have to socially distance again this year. I mean,
I think I think we'll probably still be there, yeah. I don't foresee.
I mean, the initial, at one time when we were gonna have it here, we could not seat everybody, and so the backup plan was to have monitors and have people sitting in here. And eventually we came to our senses and that just was too many complications. And if you add in the social distancing factor again, on top of that, I think that even makes it more challenging.
Well, I agree with Scott that we need to have a definite day and a definite time. I agree that there's going to be graduation events, open houses afterwards, and you can't do that. It's got to be a set time, be real. You're just gambling on having to get out of the football field. Yeah, I think it's great. I do. If it storms, then, are you gonna be able to come right from the football field here and go right over to the middle school? I'm not sure what that.
was there a backup plan last year when it was on the football field?
Didn't they have to move it last year? The original date and time, they moved it.
We had to
Or
move
was
it.
that prom?
I thought we moved the prom.
Oh, yeah, the prom.
We ended up with prom and graduation the same weekend, along with also the trip around the square, which I think they're still going to want to keep something like that in place.
Yeah, it was moved.
But-
Because it stormed, when they had, on the square, it stormed that night.
It did. Yes, it did.
Put off to the next night.
Went to the next day. Yep.
But that was,
No, that was graduation, wasn't it, on the square?
The square part was moved, the actual graduation was
Right.
not moved.
Correct.
Visiting of the students, I think.
But we're also doing it in July too, and not in, it was moved anyway.
So I think, to answer your question, I think what we did was we just said, like, if there was supposed to be, and I'm picking a day and time because I don't remember, we said Saturday morning at 10 a.m., that was gonna be our decision. So if it looked like weather was gonna move in, we were just gonna call it and say we're going to the middle school. And even if it didn't rain, it was what it was at that point. If I'm right, like, correct me if I'm wrong. But
That
then we
was an
ended up
option
having
then
that
because, yeah, social distancing.
Last year, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Mr. Shemp, you heard our comments. I don't know if you want to review this and talk them over and then come back, what are we, in February? And then we can have a decision for you next month?
That'd be fine, yeah. I thought it would be good to have discussion first before having some sort of vote on it, unless you just felt really strongly otherwise.
Nope, I think you've heard all the angles, so if you want to go back and get some feedback from them, then there it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to payroll procedures, Mr. Shemp.
Yeah, I am recommending that the board approve the move from paper checks to direct deposit for all staff. I know this is a case at many other places of employment where it's a requirement that direct deposit is a requirement. Every 2 weeks, basically, at least 3 hours is spent processing paperwork, stuffing envelopes, distributing deposit advices or checks to employees. We waste a lot of time doing this, to be honest. I mean, we waste a lot of time in the front office here doing that, and it's time to move beyond that, I feel like. CompuTrol has the ability for staff members to access their payroll information online. Moving to this online service is going to save time. It's going to save money in the form of postage, cost of checks, et cetera, for the corporation. And so I would recommend that the board approve this change and would like to see it occur on or about the beginning of May 2021. And the reason I say on or about, we have a certain number of checks that we'll want to get through, the majority of our checks that we have, and at the same time, give people a little bit of time to plan for it. Do you have any
Okay.
questions?
Questions for Mr. Shemp on this?
How many staff is this?
All of them.
Well, I mean, how many are still getting paper checks?
The number that are getting paper checks are under 10, right? I want to say under 10.
I
Yeah.
thought we had tried to move this way a couple of years ago. I'm not sure why it didn't completely happen. Yeah, because,
And that's what every teacher gets right now, right? Or every employee.
okay.
Right. Right, which is,
So then that'll be accessible online.
and then there's also the tax paperwork side, when it's time to do W-2s, right? That there's a benefit there that we can take advantage of that's going to help us out and be a little more streamlined and efficient.
Okay, if there are no other questions, do we have a motion? Jim has made the motion.
Second?
Kim with the second. All those in favor? You vote yes, Zach. Yep, 7-0. All right, cancellation of old checks, Mr. Shemp.
Yeah, periodically we have checks that get lost or misplaced along the way, and so we have to wait a period of time and then cancel those. So I'm recommending to the board that you approve that you, if I skip back to letter D, we're on E, I'm sorry. Cancellation of old checks here. I'm recommending that the board approve the cancellation of checks outstanding for a period of 2 or more years as of December 31st, 2018. This is per Indiana code, and you've got the numbers there on that specific code. Detailed information on all these checks are in your packet. You've got 2, 4, 6, 7, plus another 8, 9, 10, 11 checks. What happens here is we rewrite those checks as necessary, and that's described to you on the paperwork there in your packet on pages 64, 65, and 66. basically, I'm asking the board to just approve the cancellation of these checks.
Very well, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Kim's made the motion. Gina with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, non-certified handbook update.
Yeah, this section in your packet may have been a little bit confusing. I don't know. I may have got things a little bit more difficult to word than I should have, but I would like to recommend a couple updates in the non-certified handbook. The first one's just verbiage. It's a couple words. We have a summer helper who has essentially continued to work throughout the year. We don't have a student helper listed in the non-certified handbook. And so what I'd like to do, he's being paid at the summer helper rate. I'd like to just add the word student to that line in the non-certified handbook. And for those of you that are new, I know Elise, you've got a copy of that. Zach, if you want a copy of the non-certified handbook sometime, I'll get that to you so you can look that over. We periodically have to do updates. But the hope is to approve, or I'm recommending that the board approve adding the word student. So we're gonna have summer/student helper. It'll be the same pay rate. We just need a different word in there. It's not really very accurate if we say summer help and it's winter, right? So,
Very well, are there questions, comments? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Kim with the motion.
Second?
Elise with the second. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Okay, the next update.
okay, so the second part of that is if you'll look down where it says e-learning in your packet there, what I'd like to do is I'd like to add this language, and I've actually got a little bit more that I need to add beyond what I've typed up for you. So the language I'd like to add to the handbook, it says, in the event of an e-learning day, as we've had the last couple days, all non-certified staff will follow the guidelines under the previous inclement weather section, which is listed in your packet there, except for food services, instructional assistants, building secretaries, that's an addition to what you have typed there, corporation bus drivers, that's just your corporation bus drivers, and nurses. So I've now got 5 different categories. So again, food services, corp bus drivers, nurses, building secretaries, instructional assistants. These groups will receive a maximum of 2 paid e-learning days, which shall not accumulate from year to year. If school is hosted in an e-learning format for more than 2 days, then personnel in food services and instructional assistants shall utilize their sick or personal days in order to receive full pay. We don't have any catches within that handbook for an e-learning day, and it's impossible for these individuals to make up the work. So we're not gonna have another day when that corporation bus driver could drive the bus to make up for that pay that she missed out on. So this is a way to sort of try to take care of our people a little bit, give them 2 additional days just for e-learning purposes. It helps with these instructional assistants. What I would want to do is backdate this to February 1st of 2021. Now, this was written up prior to knowing that we'd be on our 3rd day already tomorrow of e-learning since the new semester has begun. But we're just trying to build this in as a benefit of the position. It's extremely difficult to find good workers in food services and these areas. And so to have a couple, knowing that you have a couple days that you don't get to accumulate for anything but in case there's e-learning was the impetus or the intent of wanting to make this recommendation to the board. Do you have questions or concerns about this?
This is only for inclement weather, because does it address, like, if we're on e-learning for COVID?
Currently, I'd put inclement weather because I was trying to draw a distinction.
Okay.
So in the case of what happened last year, they would get paid as normal.
Yes.
We would change
Now,
that.
now, a good point there
Well, as
would be, if we say inclement weather and the water isn't working that day, and we go to e-learning because our water's down, we may need to think about that wording still.
Well, and how we wrote the policy for COVID, that was, they were gonna get paid for the 10 days, but most of that might have already been used up this year. Or you have to designate one or the other.
Oh, I mean, their policy on the 10 days was only if the school was in session and they were not, right?
Well, they don't get paid for e-learning. If we're on e-learning for COVID, then they're not gonna get paid for that. Correct.
Do we have to tie it to implement another, or can we leave it more broad so
We-
that
we
there's
got paid on last
discretion
year.
there, like, if, for any other instance, then they could potentially use it.
I think it could be more general if we wanted to move from the inclement weather piece. I was trying to draw a distinction, but at the same time, you pigeonhole yourself sometimes too, right?
You're gonna give them the days, and it's not like they're an infinite amount of days, and if you choose to use it for then, and then you have 2 days later, then you know you've already used one of your days.
Right.
That's what it gives them, maybe a little more flexibility.
So I didn't hear what Brandy asked.
I just asked if we needed to, if we had to tie it to inclement weather, or if we could just leave it more broad, so that in the situation, like Mr. Chimp said, if somebody wanted to use one of their 2 days for that, they could, or if they did not, it just leave some flexibility. You only have 2 days, it's not like you have an infinite number, so if somebody knew they were gonna use it for this, our water went bad day, and then we have horrible weather coming next week, it would just give them some flexibility, I guess, to how they're gonna use their 2 days if they wanna use it.
Put in there at the discretion of the superintendent.
Up to a maximum of 2 days at the discretion of the superintendent.
I mean, if you go to e-learning, if we're on e-learning for some reason, you have up to 2 days, or up to 2 days to utilize, right? So then they could choose whether to use it or not.
Yeah, so you would have basically 2 days to add to you'd have 2 days for e-learning purposes. But if you wanted to use, if you've got a leave day already established, you want to use that, you could use that instead. The thought was, as we run into a bad patch like we are right now, where we've got a few days out, it hits some people in the pocketbook a little bit harder, and I don't want to try to replace good staff if I can keep from it and make sure that we take care of them at the same time. It's not a large amount of money.
Is there the potential, like, if we're outside of these 2 paid leaves where, I mean, if you're not snowed in, out, say you live in town, then you could come in and do.
Sure.
something.
Yeah, and we have, just like so many times, our secretaries come in, and Renee was there today, in working and manning the fort, so to speak, right? And taking care of business while there isn't, the phone's ringing. There's a student, at least one I know when I went through earlier today, there was a student who was gonna come by and pick up his books. Unfortunately, she was there and had come in, and so that was really worthwhile. At the same time, it might have been nice for her to have had a day that she didn't have to come in and do that, and maybe we'd make other plans, and maybe that student should have thought to take his stuff home a few days ago, but we've all been there, probably. But thankfully, she was there, and so this was just trying to build in a benefit for those people who can't make it in or want to take that choice. Maybe they need to stay home and watch a child, or whatever reason they have. It'd be building in a couple days for that. I said the cost wouldn't be much. In reality, the only thing the corporation would do would be save, right? Our cost is already fixed, essentially. We've already said that we're going to pay this many dollars a year.
The instructional assistants, they don't do anything when it's an e-learning day? They're not online with students, or are they?
Some of them have been, yeah, some of them have been online. In that instance, that would be, we're back to kind of chain of command there, right? So we've got the teacher who's going to say, yes, my aide helped out and did exactly what I needed her to do. The principal is informed and knows what the teacher did while they were utilizing Canvas or Clever in online instruction. But it also keeps, it presents that opportunity that I know, for example, my wife, who has been on a leave, is into all the e-learning days, she's still doing the e-learning days, right? So she's been meeting with her students when it's an e-learning day, even though she's on leave, while her aides are chimed in on those same sessions. So there is some value to that. Other days, aides have come in and cleaned and done other work that they might not get to do if the students were there. So we've tried to keep them busy as possible.
So when this, I mean, when COVID first happened, this all was a statutory problem at first, because we couldn't pay people for not working. I mean, essentially, some people were not working, there was nothing for them to do, and with the money coming from the federal government, we still had to figure out, and they waived that so that we could pay them at that time. And is when does that run out?
That's run out.
That's run out.
That's
So,
run out.
I mean,
Yep.
that's one reason for you to address this, right, is because essentially against the law to pay somebody for not working.
Right.
And,
Ghost employment. Yep.
and so that's why you're addressing this part of it. As far as the big picture COVID stuff, if the governor came in tomorrow and said there's no in-person instruction anymore, then we'd be back to a different situation and we'd be paying everybody at their normal rate, regardless. So this is just for covering ourselves on the statute for inclement weather.
Yeah.
Really.
Yes. And if we were in more of what we'd like to call a normal world, I guess, then, yeah, this would be,
It would make more sense
Protecting.
then, but because we've been through this big, it makes it harder to grasp a little bit. That we're just biting off and trying to cover that statute that you can't pay people for not.
yeah.
Okay, so, back to the substance of it, is there other comments on that? Okay, then if there are none, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we take out the inclement weather then and just give you some questions over there. And just take a e-learning day.
Do you want that to say at the discretion, like Jim said, or
She wants
just,
to take out the inclement weather.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're on an e-learning day, either, do you need to, you know what I mean, like if we're on an e-learning day, they either can take it or they can't, right?
Okay.
So,
So, repeat that, please, Brandy, because we can't hear.
so if you take out the inclement weather, like Jim said, at the discretion of the superintendent, and you can put that in there, I just don't know that you need it in there, because if we're on an e-learning day, and you're saying that we have 2 days a week for e-learning, and we're not gonna tie it to inclement weather, then, I mean, if you wanna sign off of it, I think that's fine, but.
Well, it's, there's some accountability when you include the superintendent, his discretion.
She wants to take that out.
Nobody's gonna take this for
Just for
sick day.
e-learning.
I can't call in sick and say, hey, I'm gonna take one of my e-learning days. It can only be when we're in,
right?
not sick.
More flexibility.
Any comments on that, Mr. Schiff?
If you'd like, I can read what I think it would say. In the event of an e-learning day, all non-certified staff will follow the guidelines under the previous inclement weather section, except for food services and instructional assistants, as well as corporation bus drivers, nurses, and building secretaries. These groups will receive a maximum of 2 paid e-learning days, which shall not accumulate from year to year. If school is hosted in an e-learning format for more than 2 days, then personnel and food services and instructional assistants shall utilize their sick or personal days in order to receive full pay, or if they wish to obtain full pay. I think that still covers it.
So you would like to leave in the inclement weather part?
It refers back to the inclement weather from before, but it doesn't require that the e-learning day is because of inclement weather.
Okay.
I know it's confusing.
Nope, I'm with you there. So is that the motion you made, Brandy?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that
Okay.
okay?
Brandy's made that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Jim with a second. All those in favor? You a yes, Zach?
No.
All those opposing? Okay, board doc policies.
Okay, the board policies over the years have been, they were put together when the two corporations came together, and there's some cleaning up that needs to happen. We also need to constantly be looking at updates on our policies. One of the ways that makes the most sense is to work in concert with the ISBA, the Indiana School Board Association. What I'd like to do is as we begin this process, and I've been in conversations with Julie Slavens there at the ISBA, I'd like to utilize the board docs, is what it's called, that the ISBA puts out. The process is going to take months or longer to go through all of our policies and get these lined out and squared away as much as possible, but it is worthwhile work, and we want to have policies that match from a handbook to an online. And to start with, getting the board to approve the use of ISBA board docs is what I'm looking for. So I'm recommending that we go with the board docs. And as we do that, each individual policy will be brought to the board anyways. So the board's going to look at those, and you'll either approve or not approve of what we've created, and we'll come up with different wording that works. It's basically a starting point. They're going to say, here's what works, here's what we've used at other schools, here's what we present to you. We do a reading, we decide whether or not we like it, and then you determine whether or not you want to approve that. So I'm just asking for approval of using board docs with the ISBA for quarterly updates and revisions as needed.
So who actually looks at each individual policy? Who will do that?
So I would be going through each and every one of those policies and sharing those as needed. You know, one small, not small, but one change that we had to make a while back, we moved our central office, and we had to, within the policies, go in and list that the central office was now 602 Howard Avenue. But that's just one of many things. You know, we don't have social media addressed in our policy right now, for example. So there are some things that just need to be added in. We need to be brought up to date on that. It's not that we can't deal with those items, it's just we'd like to have them in name. There will always be things that don't exist in your policies that you can still deal with. It's just,
So with these updates, you know, some policies are going to be updated, some aren't. So as a board, are you going to get like a booklet as you go through them?
so my thought process is that as I go through these, I have conversations with Julie Slavens or whoever it may be at the ISBA that's working with me. I get an example of what I think will work, and I present maybe 3 or so to the board at a time. And you're able to have those in your packet. You look at them ahead of time. We have discussion as needed.
Then we just keep them.
And then we would update, our online version of it would be updated. And so we'd have it all up to date online.
Is there an expense from ISBA?
There is, but it's much cheaper than Neola. Neola is the other group that's been around a long time. It's about, I want to say 7 times what ISBA costs. ISBA was more like $1,200. It's not a large sum, but you also have to do a lot of the legwork, and that's okay. We need to dig into it, I think.
Very well, are there comments on this? If there are none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Jim has made a motion. Seconded by Brandy. All those in favor? Brandy, were you yes?
Yes,
All right, 7-0. All right, fundraisers, Mr. Shemp.
Okay, yeah, we have a few fundraisers that I'd like to get approved, including a high school music department fundraiser, where they'll be selling cookie dough, cheesecake, sausages. They'd like to raise $1,000 for music purchases. That's Juliana Johnson, who is the sponsor. Park Heritage Middle School Athletics, Jeff McCoy has some discount cards. If you haven't seen them yet, they're really, they're pretty good. I've got one in my pocket. If I had, I can get you one if you need one. They're $10. Got some good discounts. But Mr. McCoy was trying to raise a couple $1,000s for uniforms and equipment. Park Heritage High School FFA, Shannon Whitty has a hat day lined up for Colton Howard Memorial. She's trying to come up with a couple $100 there. And Park Heritage Middle School Student Council with sponsor Ashley McCamus would like to have a dodgeball tournament. They're looking to raise $250 there. And that one in particular might be one that you want to talk more about because, again, it's an activity. We've got kids together playing dodgeball. I realize our numbers look much better when it comes to COVID right now, but if you want additional considerations there, the thought process for me was we've played a lot of basketball games, a lot of volleyball games, we've had wrestling meets. To have one dodgeball tournament where kids are surely getting permission to stay after school, I could rationalize it that way, but I'm not the one that approves it, right? So I'm recommending it for approval, but that's up to the board.
Would it just be the middle school students that would be eligible, so they're already in the same building?
My understanding is it's just the middle schoolers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can't play, no.
What's the dates on these fundraisers?
Let's see, I got the field trip here. All right, so the Juliana Johnson High School is February 11th forward, and you can't go beyond a month. Jeff McCoy had submitted, well, he submitted on the 10th of this month. The FFA is 1/26 that she submitted this, and 1/11 is when the student council, Ashley McCamus, submitted. And the dodgeball tournament is for March 1st through March 17th. They've got dates where basically the $250 they're trying to raise would be for whoever the winning team is. They get to donate it to Riley, Humane Society, et cetera, of the winning team's choice.
And so is the dodgeball after school, like, what's the structure for that, I guess?
Dodgeball is after school, it's not during school. Yeah, it should be after school hours. It's a tournament, or before school, I guess, either way.
I would just want, we want to strive to approve these before I'm buying my discount card. So
Yeah.
Right.
we want to keep going. It's gotten better, but it needs to get better.
All of these were not in the window, though. Well, maybe the dodgeball tournament.
Oh, well, why does it come back on again? That's what I thought I'd heard it before.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Because we've already
There we
approved
go.
one discount card.
I thought that was, that I'd seen that before. Okay.
If you want, I can give you a copy of the request.
That's good news that they're coming in before we're doing them after we approve them instead of them doing
and
them
wasn't
before we
Hat
approve
Day,
this
them.
one's gonna be
didn't they already
November?
have Hat Day?
This is November, okay.
That's outstanding. We can do that. That's,
Okay.
okay, are there any questions or comments on any of these problems? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Elise has made the motion.
Second.
Kim with a second. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Okay, your consideration of bus route bids, we're just gonna do that miscellaneous, is that?
Yeah, it kind of blends in here to miscellaneous. When I typed up the packet, I didn't have all of the bids in, and we still don't have all of our bids in, but I would like to get approval on the bids that we have. You've got a one-page miscellaneous statement there in front of you that has 14 different bus routes with bids on them.
Yep.
We have moved from 19 to 18 total routes. The amounts are listed there. Spicer Transportation has bid on 11 routes. And then you've got Kerr, Danny and Jeff, and Raylene Swaim. The amounts across the board there, in most instances, you're looking at about an 8% increase. That's not 100% accurate, but as a whole, you're looking at about 8%. And the reason why it's not 100% accurate is they're not exactly the same routes. And so it's hard to say exactly how different they are. I can say within the total amount, if I extrapolate this and I go ahead and I look at the other 4 routes and I figure an average and I look and find we are within the range of what was budgeted. So that's encouraging, and obviously the goal. But we still need to find more bidders, right? Because right now we're short of 15, 16, 17, and 18. Route 16 is planned to be a school corporation-owned route. There will be flexibility there, though, if there needs to be. So we would entertain bids on any of those other 4. We do. Penny Davies is still, yeah, that's still the plan, to have Penny Davies drive that route.
Don't we have 2 corporation routes at the current time?
So we did, and then we had someone who resigned their position. Tim Spicer has a driver who has filled in, his sub has filled in for us basically all year long. And so realistically, it's our route, but it's his driver, and so we were trying to bid it out. If we needed to hire additional corporation drivers, we would. It just boils down to, we've got to find people who have the appropriate licensure. And
So did other people bid and we didn't take their bids, or we just have no interest?
we had one bid that was not accepted because of the amount. It was too high. It was too high, and if we needed to revisit that, we could discuss it. If that was something for discussion more at executive, we could do that. But the dollar amount was exceeding what I think we could buy a bus, and over 2 years buy a bus, pay somebody more than we already pay our drivers, and still have had less expense. So I think we need to look for drivers a little bit more first.
Are we missing drivers that we currently have? That
Are we-
currently have routes? Do we have a couple that aren't on here?
Yes, yeah, there were 2 that didn't bid, or 2 that didn't bid, and 1 that did bid that is a driver, but I just couldn't see going to that amount. And I understand, people have, everybody has a number that they have to have, and I respect that, but I couldn't see $310 a day.
Would Spicer be interested in taking those over?
I've asked them, and they are looking for drivers too. I've said, would you entertain putting in more bids? And they have an interest, but
They're running the same problem.
they are, yeah.
So what's our plan? I mean, because I feel like this has been, we talk about this every year, it's always an issue. And if you go, I mean, heck, you go to Indy, everybody's advertising, if you want to be a bus driver, call. So if we can't find somebody to do these routes, do we go back and rework the routes? Do we just not do it like
That'd be our absolute worst-case scenario, I feel like, is reworking all the routes. I think we will find people, but it's gonna take being creative and maybe paying more. We may have to have an incentive. We're gonna have to pay for some training potentially. Our drivers currently make $75 a day. I know that I just drove past one school the other day, because most schools have signs outside. There said $23 an hour.
we, at one point, paid for health insurance to get a bus driver. Last year, or the year before, we decided money, so we had
Brandy, speak up a little bit.
Sorry, we had to provide health insurance to get a bus driver. I don't think it's last year, maybe the year before, to have somebody so that we had a route filled.
Right, we also added to their duties. They were also an aid as well.
That's right. It was a
'Cause they
split
had to have
position,
the
that's right.
hours
So
to
that's
make-
right, she drove in the morning and then did the second half of the day.
So, I mean, I think 8% isn't bad. This is it's in 4 years since we've done this.
Yes.
I think it was a 2-year
It was a
before.
2-year deal on
Yeah.
this.
Prior to that, it was 4, I wanna say, though.
It's been like 6 years, because it hadn't changed.
Well, we did it quickly last time because we thought some bus drivers may retire, so we did it. So I'm okay with these amounts. I think we should, if everybody else is, I think we should approve these and then give Mr. Schimpf some time to work on the remaining routes. Realize it's challenging, but I don't think these prices are out of line, is my opinion. Any other comments?
I agree.
No, I agree.
Okay, so then I'll entertain a motion to approve the ones that we have.
I'm gonna make that motion.
Kim's made the motion,
I second it.
seconded by Elise. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, so, and with that, Mr. Schimpf, good luck getting the rest of them. Well,
Thanks. We'll take it.
all right, that is all the miscellaneous business that I see, so we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Yeah, I just have a few items there. I wanted to talk first about the winter weather. I'm glad we have e-learning days. I am. And it would be easier to be glad about that if we hadn't just lived through all of those e-learning times before. If that hadn't been the case, there would be less second guessing. And honestly, a conversation with another superintendent who called me a while ago, he's trying to determine, do I do e-learning again tomorrow? And I've driven through his district a couple times today. And I said, you know, it's your call, obviously. I mean, we chat, right? We have these conversations, but the conversation became, if not for what we had just gone through, this wouldn't be as big of a question mark for tomorrow. And I know it can be a hassle for families to have to try to find childcare, and I'm sorry for that. But for tomorrow, for example, our roads they still are not good enough on the side roads right now. And so we had to go ahead and make that call. And I've been trying to make that call in an evening if I can.
Thank you.
It helps parents, I think, but it's not a perfect science either. So there are times where if you do it on an evening, you may get to the morning and decide, wow, we could have gone. But I'd always rather say we could have gone than the counter. So we try to do it as safely as we can, and then we talk to everybody along the way. But you know, winter weather's not cooperating right now. It's being winter, and it showed up, and we've got the negatives, and so we're going to do the best we can with it. And the other thing I had down was in regard to our community spread. We're in the yellow now as a county still. There are 18 total students who are quarantined right now. Tomorrow, 10 of those will be back. We have 0 positive cases right now that we know of, active positives. We have 0 staff that are actively positive right now. There are 2 quarantines. So on the COVID side, our numbers are, trending with, ahead of even the rest of the state, it seems right now. So that's great news. The only other thing that I had was that there's a superintendent study council that I'm a member of, this West Central Study Council. There are 12 total other superintendents on there. And we had a letter that I'd signed off on to send over to legislators as they look at passing House Bill 1005 on school choice, which is going to give more dollars to vouchers. It's going to increase funds available, offering these funds to families to support private school tuition or homeschool education, which takes away from public schools. And so I signed along with a bunch of other superintendents, but the bill did pass on the 3rd reading. It's House Bill 1005, and the 2 nays of the individuals we sent to local legislators was, I always say her name wrong, Tanya Pfaff, P-F-A-F-F, and Matt Pierce. They both voted nay on that bill, which is potentially going to put more dollars in vouchers in charter schools. And it's potentially not holding them as accountable either at the same time. So I don't know, Brandy, as the liaison there, if you had anything
No, I
extra.
was gonna mention it. Yeah, I was gonna bring it up. It's a big, so our District 42 person voted to move it through. And that it's important for us to realize that it's, in our District 42, we have, I think, if I remember right, 3 non-public schools that receive these voucher charters. So not very many. It was less than 1% of the students in our district to move these. And then now with the being able to do the homeschool and then the lack of accountability was super concerning. Because it was I think it was Southern Indiana last year, they had the charter that had, and Mark, you might remember this, the the schools that funneled lots of money and they lost track of where it was, like thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, it is now moving to the Senate for, approval, so we'll see.
I'll keep you updated on that. You know, it's easy to get caught up in a lot of the bills that come along, and some of them are not good, and some of them are very good. But this one was one that we're kind of cautious of.
Well, anything else, Mr. Schimpf?
Nope, that takes care of my report.
I have a question. Go ahead.
Are we under the new COVID quarantining rules now, the 3 feet? If you have a mask on all the time and not within 3 feet for over the period of time, then you will not get quarantined, correct?
Right, so long as you have your mask on at all times, which,
Effectively will really, like, even if we were back to where we had more cases, it would really cut down the number of quarantines significantly.
yep.
So previously, the e-learning, we had a limit of, I think, 3 in a row? And I know that obviously COVID, that didn't pertain, but are they going to, is that still for weather?
What would you like to do? Because I can see both sides. On one, so what are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, because isn't that state directed? Or was that our decision?
It's local.
Okay,
It's a local decision.
yeah, I don't think it pertains.
So, yeah, we were gonna do 3, we could do up to 3, and then we had to make up the day, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but at this point, when we missed 3 months, we made it work. And
Yeah.
their e-learning, as you stated, is so much better than it was. But we need to change that if that's the way we want it.
I don't think we should limit the number of days that we put in a row there. Now, I do think that there's caution that should be, when it comes to mental health, and you watch this on the kids who are taking all these classes online, and they've sat at that computer for hours and hours and hours, there is a limit where we might have to say, we're going to make up this day, but we're not there right now. I don't think. That's idealistic probably too, right? That's trying to be positive. But I would prefer to not have a limit on the number of days e-learning that we would have in a row. We could have 4 really cold days in a row,
Okay, other questions? Luis? All right, then, thank you, Mr. Schimpf, on your report. Comment from the public? Renee? Okay, Mark? Very well, comment from the public is closed. Our next regular meeting is March 17th at 6 here. And then we need to talk about a possible date for a retreat sooner than later. So we can adjourn and then do that. So if there is nothing else, we are adjourned. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Doing the cake and fun.
As far as board members, we need, Brandy, your available dates are March 1st, correct?
March 1st is, pretty much it for me at the beginning.
Okay, and you did say that you would be willing to call in if possible?
Yes, so if you do it on a day where I'm at work, I'm happy to call in if it's not crazy, just knowing that I might have to excuse myself and hop back on, just depending on what's happening on the unit.
Okay. Jim, your dates are?